bodybuilding isn't just about muscles. It's about your mind, about pressure, about all the silent expectations no one sees. Behind every shredded physique, there's a battle that goes way beyond the mirror. Anxiety, comparison, self-sabotage, they can all be hiding behind a smile on stage. Today, we're diving into a side of bodybuilding that most people are too afraid to talk about. If you think this sport is only about physical strength, it's time to think again. So grab your pre-workout and come along. We're about to uncover what really weighs heavy in the life of someone who lives and breathes bodybuilding. You'll never see the sport the same way again. When most people think of bodybuilding, the first image that pops into their heads is huge muscles, chiseled bodies, and stage poses. But is that really all there is to it? The truth is, behind every jaw-dropping physique is a brutally demanding routine, filled with sacrifices and serious emotional pressure. The athlete's mind is often pushed just as hard as the body, and that's something people don't talk about enough. A lot of folks think that all it takes is lifting heavy and eating clean to make gains in the sport. But it's way more complicated than that. Chasing the perfect body requires insane discipline, daily sacrifices, and non-stop mental control. The struggles don't stop at the gym. They follow athletes home, into their social media feeds, and every time they look in the mirror. Bodybuilding becomes a lifestyle that demands 100%, both mentally and physically. And here's the danger. What happens when the mind starts to crack under all that pressure? Have you ever thought about how many incredible athletes have broken down emotionally behind the scenes? How many smile on stage while fighting battles no one sees? Lifting can be a powerful tool for transformation, but can also become a mental prison when you go too far. That's what we're here to talk about. The stuff no one wants to admit. This isn't about bashing bodybuilding. Not at all. It's about giving athletes even more respect by showing that their strength goes way beyond just physical. Behind every shredded physique is a story full of struggle, resilience, and sometimes emotional pain. If you train, you've probably felt this pressure firsthand. That constant push to improve, to stick to the diet, to never miss a workout. It doesn't just come from others, it often comes from ourselves. And that silent pressure can turn into anxiety, frustration, or even serious mental health issues. The worst part? A lot of athletes feel totally alone in this. Like it's wrong to admit they're tired, scared, or overwhelmed. To understand how bodybuilding pressure got so intense, we need to rewind a bit. Back in the golden era of the sport, mainly the 1960s and 70s, the first icons of the ideal physique appeared. Guys like Arnold Schwarzenegger, Frank Zane, and Franco Columbu didn't just dominate on stage. They shaped the very idea of the perfect body. And once that standard was set, it became the goal for everyone who came after. Back then, athletes aimed for balance, symmetry, and definition. The fitness lifestyle started going mainstream, with magazines, movies, and ads putting those bodies on a pedestal as symbols of power and success. Arnold, for example, became a living legend, both inside and outside the sport. That spotlight made bodybuilding explode, inspiring generations. But it also planted a dangerous seed, the belief that there's only one way to have the ideal body. Over the years, the sport evolved, and so did the physiques. The focus shifted from classical symmetry to extreme muscle mass. New divisions like open bodybuilding came along, where the goal is to be as massive and dense as humanly possible. The limits kept getting pushed. What was once seen as perfect soon became not enough. That only amped up the pressure. How do you outdo the impossible? And here's the big question. Are these standards even realistic anymore? Or are we forcing our bodies into a race with no finish line? The obsession with perfection keeps growing. On social media, on stage, and even among people who just work out for fun. The higher the bar gets set, the harder it is on the minds of those trying to reach it. These days, it's normal to see young athletes comparing themselves to legends who took decades to build their physiques. But that comparison rarely considers genetics, years of training, hormone use, or life circumstances. And yet, the frustration still hits hard. That's where a lot of self-esteem issues, anxiety, and even body dysmorphia start to show up, all because of a standard that might not even exist anymore. We need to remember that the legends of the past deserve our respect and admiration, but they shouldn't be treated as the only blueprint for success. Every body has its own story. What's perfect for one person might be completely unrealistic for another. When the sport turns into a quest for external validation, it loses its real purpose to promote health, discipline, and personal growth. Maybe it's time we rethink what it truly means to be an athlete. A bodybuilder's routine is way more intense than most people think. It's not just about hitting the gym and lifting heavy, it's a lifestyle that demands total control. The diet is strict, every meal is timed, portions are weighed, and macros are dialed in. Sleep has to be managed, recovery is sacred, and even staying hydrated is a serious priority. Everything revolves around one single goal: performing at your absolute best every single day. But chasing performance like that doesn't come without consequences. As your physique improves, the pressure ramps up too. You start to feel like you always need to do more weight, more discipline, more focus. It doesn't matter what you accomplished yesterday. What matters is the next goal. That mindset creates a cycle where resting feels like slacking off, and any slip-up triggers guilt. Ever felt like that too? Like no matter what, it's never enough? Your body feels it, no doubt. Injuries show up, fatigue builds, and your health starts throwing warning signs. But what most people don't see is the mental toll this lifestyle can take. Your mind gets worn down too. The pre-workout anxiety, the fear of losing progress, the stress of trying to stay in control all the time. For many, living with that level of intensity every day feels like walking a mental tightrope. Getting ready for competition cranks everything up. Food restrictions get tighter, workouts get harsher, and your body gets pushed to its absolute limit. That's when a lot of athletes report mood swings, feelings of isolation, and even identity crises. After all, when your body becomes your brand, any change to it hits your self-esteem hard. Then there's the social pressure. Friends, followers, sponsors, everyone expects constant progress. Personal life often gets pushed aside. Parties, trips, family time, all of it becomes a distraction you feel like you have to avoid. And that isolation adds to the sense of loneliness. The athlete may look focused, but deep down, they're carrying a weight that goes way beyond dumbbells. One of the heaviest burdens is the pressure we put on ourselves. A lot of athletes are their own toughest critics. If progress stalls, they take all the blame. And even when they hit a major milestone, the celebration barely lasts, because right after comes the question, what's next? That mindset can be a driver, sure, but it can also be toxic. How do you find balance when the discipline never stops? And what about you? Have you ever felt like your routines controlling you instead of making you stronger? Have you caught yourself ignoring signs from your body or mind just to stay on track? Stepping on a bodybuilding stage is a dream come true for many. But it's also the moment when the athlete is fully exposed, physically and emotionally. Every detail is up for judgment. Muscle size, symmetry, definition, posing. But what a lot of people miss is that the critique doesn't stop at the body. It hits right at your self-worth, your confidence, your identity. That feeling of being watched by everyone, combined with rigid judging criteria, creates massive pressure. One slip up, a bit of water retention, even bad stage lighting, any of it can shake your confidence. Pre-stage anxiety is real, and in many cases, overwhelming. Your brain turns against you. Am I good enough? What if they laugh? What if I don't get remembered? And it's not just the judges. There's the silent judgment of the crowd and the internet. Social media comments, photo comparisons, critiques about your appearance. It all stacks up in your head. You could get 100 compliments, but one nasty comment can haunt you for days. The self-confidence you worked so hard to build can collapse from a single cruel phrase. It's like your body becomes an emotional minefield. Comparison is another silent killer. Instead of celebrating how far you've come, you start measuring your worth against someone else's progress. My physique isn't as good as his. I'll never get to that level. That constant comparison turns the sport into a mental war zone, with your own reflection becoming the enemy. And the worst part? A lot of what you're comparing yourself to isn't even real. It's filtered, angled, and edited. The stage, which should be a celebration of effort, ends up becoming a test of emotional survival. Some athletes say that even after winning, they still feel like they weren't good enough. That happens when outside judgment gets internalized. It messes with your sense of value. You stop seeing how far you've come and only see yourself through someone else's eyes. Has that ever happened to you? Where you push yourself too hard, even after doing something incredible? To break free from this cycle, it's essential to separate technical evaluation from self-worth. A competition is just a moment. It doesn't define who you are. Real growth happens offstage, in the quiet grind, in pushing past your own limits. And that lesson applies to every part of life: work, school, relationships. What others think of you matters far less than what you believe about yourself. Now picture this. You've trained for years, built a physique that turns heads wherever you go, and still, you look in the mirror and don't like what you see. Sounds contradictory, right? But it's actually really common in bodybuilding. A lot of athletes struggle with something called body dysmorphia, a distorted view of their own body. Even in top shape, they see themselves as small, weak, or not good enough. It's like their brain can't catch up with the body's progress. This feeling doesn't just come out of nowhere. It's fed daily by constant comparison, harsh self-criticism, and the endless chase for perfection. Even after winning awards and getting praise, they still feel like they need more. More size, more definition, less fat. It's never enough. That mindset becomes a dangerous loop of never being satisfied. Have you ever found yourself tearing down your body, even after hitting a major milestone? Social media only makes it worse. Just open your feed, and there they are, sculpted bodies, perfect lighting, flawless angles, filters hiding every so-called flaw. Your brain starts to believe that's the standard. And when you compare your real body to those idealized images, your confidence takes a hit. The problem is, it's not even a fair fight. We're comparing reality to something staged and edited. This distorted self-image affects your mood, your behavior, and even your relationships. Some athletes start avoiding mirrors, cameras, and social situations because they're ashamed of how they look, even when they're in peak condition. Body dysmorphia can also push people to extremes: dangerous supplement use, crash dieting, overtraining, all in an attempt to fix something that may only exist in their minds. One major factor that makes this worse is the belief that your looks define your worth. When your body becomes your main source of validation, any change in it feels like personal failure. The scale, body fat percentage, and muscle size become harsh judges. But here's the truth: bodies change. And if your self-esteem is tied only to how you look, every little shift can shake your entire foundation. Dealing with body dysmorphia takes real work. It's about self-awareness and acceptance. Yes, wanting to improve is healthy, but obsession isn't. Loving your body doesn't mean giving up on progress. It means honoring everything it's already achieved. It's a long road, but it starts with small steps. Recognizing your wins, stopping the constant comparison, and reminding yourself that perfection doesn't exist. Have you ever tried that? These days, the bodybuilding stage isn't just at competitions. It's on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube. Every post is a new way to put yourself out there. Social media has become the new spotlight, where athletes showcase their workouts, meals, and physiques. But along with all that visibility comes the need for validation. Likes and comments start becoming the measure of success. And when your worth depends on that, your mind starts to suffer. This constant exposure creates an environment of endless comparison. With every scroll, you see other physiques, other wins, other aesthetics. And even if you're doing great, you start to question yourself. Am I training hard enough? Why doesn't my body look like his? Why did their post blow up and mine didn't? These quiet questions become the background noise in your head. On top of that, social media algorithms favor perfect content. Edited photos, flawless lighting, strategic poses, those become the norm. But that standard doesn't show reality. It hides the stretch marks, the loose skin, the fatigue, the bad days. You end up comparing yourself to a highlight reel, and it only feeds the feeling of never being enough. Caught yourself in that trap before? External validation starts calling shots. If a post gets a bunch of likes, your day feels better. If it doesn't, your mood tanks. You stop doing things for you and start doing them for others. Workouts become content. Meals become stories. Progress becomes performance. Little by little, what once was passion starts to feel like pressure. And when your motivation depends on applause, the silence can be crushing. This environment also makes it hard to rest. Because if you take a break, someone else is posting. Someone else is growing. Someone else is passing you by. The pressure to always be on is exhausting. The line between showing up and proving yourself gets blurry. A lot of athletes feel like if they're not constantly updating their profiles, they'll be forgotten. And that creates a deep, constant fear of disappearing. But it is possible to use social media in a healthy way. It can be a powerful tool for inspiration, learning, and connection, as long as your focus is in the right place. Post because it feels good, not because you feel obligated. Show your reality, not just the highlights. And most importantly, remember this: your worth goes way beyond any number. Self-esteem has to come from within, not from a like button. After everything we've explored about the emotional challenges in bodybuilding, the question is, how do you protect your mind in the middle of all this pressure? The good news is, there are ways. One of the first steps is learning to really listen to your body and your mind. Signs like irritability, sleepless nights, anxiety, or lingering sadness shouldn't be ignored. They're red flags. Recognizing that doesn't make you weak, it takes strength. One of the most powerful tools for handling pressure is mindfulness. Simple techniques like meditation or deep breathing can help bring your awareness back to the present moment. That reduces anxiety, sharpens your focus, and boosts emotional control. Just a few minutes a day can make a huge difference. Ever tried closing your eyes and just breathing deeply for a bit? You'd be surprised at how much it helps. Another crucial strategy is building a support system. Friends who listen without judging, family that encourages you, even gym buddies who get what you're going through. That kind of support matters. No one should have to carry all this alone. Having someone to talk to about the highs and lows of the sport can lighten the mental load. Sometimes just venting is enough to ease the pressure. Who's walking with you on this journey? And let's normalize seeking professional help too. Therapy, counseling, or support groups aren't last resorts. They're smart, effective tools. Having a safe space to talk about fear, frustration, or insecurity can be life-changing. It's not a weakness, it's courage in action. Because the truth is, when you take care of your mind, you perform better in every part of life, including your training. Protecting your mental health also means rethinking your goals and expectations. Are you really doing this for yourself, or just to prove something to others? Is your goal helping you grow, or is it draining you? Learning to check in with your why can open new doors. Pulling back isn't always quitting. Sometimes it's exactly what you need to keep going. That kind of reflection is part of real growth. And don't forget, celebrating your wins, even the small ones, is key. Recognize the effort, the progress, the dedication. Clap for yourself, even if no one else does. That builds a solid foundation of self-worth that doesn't rely on stages, likes, or medals. When you start valuing your process, the outside world stops having so much power over how you feel. Despite all the challenges we've talked about, it's important to remember that bodybuilding can also be a powerful ally for mental health. For many people, training is about so much more than looks. It's their way of reconnecting with themselves. The routine, the consistency, the daily progress, it helps bring clarity and peace of mind. It's like when you gain control over your body, you also gain control over your life. The discipline that bodybuilding demands teaches you priceless values: commitment, patience, resilience. Every finished workout, every pushed rep, every day you stick to the plan, it strengthens not just your muscles, but your spirit too. When you realize you can push through physically, You start to believe you can push through anything. And that belief, it changes everything. Bodybuilding also gives you a sense of purpose. Knowing you're working toward a clear goal, something you're building with your own hands and sweat, adds meaning to your days. In tough moments, training can be a safe haven, a place where you turn emotions into motion, where anger becomes energy, sadness turns into strength, and anxiety shifts into focus. Plus, seeing your body transform in a positive way is incredibly rewarding. Not just for the looks, but for the feeling of empowerment. You made that happen. It boosts your confidence, your satisfaction, and reminds you that you're in control of your story. Even if no one notices, you feel it. Even if no one applauds, you know it. And that kind of inner strength, that's what keeps you going on the hardest days. Another key point is the mental clarity that hits right after a solid workout. The endorphin release, that sense of accomplishment, the stress relief, it all adds up to a lighter, clearer mind. It's no surprise that so many people say training saved their lives. For those dealing with anxiety, depression, or racing thoughts, lifting can actually feel like real therapy, a powerful form of complementary care. Bodybuilding also helps build a strong, positive identity. Instead of feeling like just another person, you begin to see yourself as someone in progress, in motion, in transformation. And that shift in self-image sparks better choices in other areas. Your eating, your sleep, your relationships, even how you show up at work. The self-confidence you build under a barbell doesn't stay in the gym. And the best part? You earn it. It comes from the inside out. In the middle of all the pressure and discipline, there's something that can make all the difference in a bodybuilder's journey. The feeling of belonging. Being surrounded by people who understand your struggles, your setbacks, your wins. That changes everything. The bodybuilding community, in gyms, at events, or even online, can become a safe space, a support system. And that has a huge impact on your mental health. When you train around people who share your goals, everything feels more meaningful. A simple, tough day, can spark a connection. You realize you're not alone. Others have bad days too. They doubt themselves, they fight against the scale and the mirror just like you do. These bonds form an invisible net of support that's often more powerful than any technical advice. Competitions, athlete meetups, or even casual group chats online can be great spaces to share and listen. When someone opens up about a struggle or a breakthrough, you see yourself in their story. And suddenly, the pressure softens, the isolation cracks. One of the biggest dangers in bodybuilding is thinking you're fighting this battle alone. Gyms can also be welcoming environments if there's a culture of respect and support. Encouraging someone, complimenting their progress, giving space to newcomers. These small actions build something bigger, a sense of community. Everyone starts somewhere, and when someone feels accepted, motivation rises and confidence takes root. Have you ever trained somewhere you truly felt like you belonged? Even on social media, which can often be a source of pressure, there are healthy communities out there. Pages that keep it real, that talk about the emotional side of training, that show true before and after journeys without filters. Groups where people help each other out, ask questions, and open up. Yes, the internet can be toxic, but it can also connect people who never would have met in real life. The power of community lies in reminding every athlete that they are more than the body they've built. They're part of something greater. When one person is struggling, someone else reaches out. When one wins, the whole group celebrates. That spirit of unity creates an emotionally safe space where messing up isn't shameful and starting over is normal. Collective support gives you the strength to keep going, even when your mind says give up. After everything we've talked about, one lesson becomes crystal clear. The real peak of bodybuilding isn't just about your physique, the trophies, or the likes. It's about balance. Because what's the point of having your dream body if your mind is falling apart? Physical evolution is amazing, but protecting your mental health along the way is what turns an athlete into a true example. Taking care of your mind isn't a luxury, it's a necessity. It's time to flip the script, to realize that resting, asking for help, setting boundaries, and respecting your limits are part of progress. True growth walks hand in hand with self-love. There's no real achievement if it comes with silent suffering, and you don't owe proof to anyone. Your worth isn't just in the mirror, it's in who you are when no one's watching. If you've made it this far, it means you care about more than just looks. You care about balance, about truth, about health. And that's the kind of audience we want to build here on the channel. A space where bodybuilding is seen as the full picture. Yes, muscles, but also mental strength, real stories, and respect for everyone's unique path. Now, I've got a little invitation for you. If this video made sense to you, if it helped you reflect or hit home in any way, drop a like down below. That helps the channel grow and lets this message reach more people who need to hear exactly this. And if you want to take it a step further, consider becoming a channel member to support our work. While you're here, don't forget to subscribe. Every week, we drop new videos about the world of bodybuilding, packed with inspiring stories, real talk, and high-quality info. And of course, hit the bell so you never miss a thing. This is just the beginning of a journey we're going to walk together. Remember, you're way more than a body. You're a mind in progress, a story still unfolding. Keep training with purpose, but don't forget to take care of the person inside. Real strength isn't just about how much you lift, it's about how you choose to live. See you in the next video.